Hello, Cheyenne Mountain High School. I'm Mr. Jurekovic, and with me I have,
Mrs. Poole?
we're the Deans of Students here, if you don't already know us. And we're here to welcome you back to the 2021 school year. Unfortunately, we're not in the building, but we do have some important information to share with you so that you can get off to a good start and be successful for the first few weeks of school while we're going to be remote. So speaking of remote, I wanted to talk to you just really quickly about some of the verbiage that we're going to use, and we're going to try to be really intentional about that so that you are not confused. We hear a lot of people talk about online and remote and in person, and it is really important to frame those terms so that people aren't confused and so that you know what's going on. So whenever you hear us talk about online, we're talking about a course that you would be taking through our online service provider, CDLS. CDLS is not affiliated with Cheyenne Mountain in any sense of those are not our teachers. They do not have the same expectations that we do. They don't have the same rules as we do. If you are enrolled part-time online, you might be using them as an online course. So that might be an elective or a core course that you just preferred to take online or to limit your exposure in the building. So anytime that you hear us say online, you should think CDLS online. And those courses are what we call asynchronous, meaning you don't have to log in at a specific time if you're taking that course. So if you have a kind of a weird schedule where you have 2 online courses in the morning and then 3 Cheyenne Mountain courses or later in the day, just the expectations are different. So when we talk about Cheyenne Mountain, we're talking about Cheyenne Mountain expectations. And if you have an online course through CDLS, you need to be aware of those expectations and that they are completely different than Cheyenne Mountain. When we're talking remote or we talk in person, we're referring to a Cheyenne Mountain course taught by Cheyenne Mountain teachers. And those courses could potentially move. We're going to start them remote, meaning that you're going to engage in them remotely from home on your computer, and then those courses are going to shift seamlessly, hopefully into the building after Labor Day. But potentially, depending on how the year goes, we could be in the building, we could go back to remote, we could be going back and forth here and there. So if we talk about remote learning or in-person learning, those types of courses, we're referring to Cheyenne Mountain courses. For those courses, you are expected to follow the Cheyenne Mountain Student Code of Conduct and our expectations, policies, and procedures. So make sure that you're aware of the differences between those two as we're going through the year. So hopefully that helps clear up a little bit of confusion. Just remember, remote is with Cheyenne Mountain and online is with CDLS.
So here's a glance at your first week of school. We will see you guys Monday and Tuesday for your orientation appointments where you come and pick up your books and everything. On Wednesday, we are going to have live instruction for all 8 periods of your day. You can see there the time. If you have 0 hour, it starts at 7:35. If you have first period, the first time you need to log in is at 8:30 in the morning. So you'll go to your Google Classroom, you'll log into your first period, then your second, your third, and so on. Wednesday is the only day that you have a full 8-period day where you're logging in virtually to do remote learning. Thursday and Friday, you'll also log into all of your classes remotely learning as well. It's just broken down differently. So Thursday is period 0 through 4, and Friday is 5 through 8. You'll also have this available. Your parents will be getting an email with this schedule, so you'll have that there as well. Be prepared those days. Teachers may assign 40 minutes of work for you to be offline to be working remotely from home, and then they may call you back in to learn some more with them. So just be ready to be available during those times, and teachers will direct how that goes. So what will remote learning look like that week? You're going to be pre-populated into those Google Classrooms, so you should be able to go to your waffle in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, click that, find Google Classroom, and then find all of your classes. Expect this to be similar, Wednesday to be similar to any other first day of school. Teachers will introduce themselves, they'll hand you the expectations, not hand you, I'm sorry, they will show you the expectations for the course. And hopefully be able to answer any questions that you might have, especially since this looks so different than it normally does. Thursday and Friday, obviously the schedule looked a little bit different. You'll participate in half your classes on Thursday, half of them on Friday, and it'll be longer. The key there is to make sure you are in the Google Meet at the time when the class starts. You are expected to, those 3 days, the 5 days after that, the 2 days after that, you were expected to be present at all live instruction blocks. And then during the other times, we expect you to be working on your classwork. Teachers will be giving you assignments that will show that you're working on your time remotely when you're not in live classes. Here's the schedule for the second week of instruction. Monday through Friday, it's a little bit different than the first week of instruction. We've split the first 4 days into block time periods and also split them by subjects. So Monday, math, science, world language, and PE classes will meet live. Tuesday, the same block will meet live for your other half of classes. So if you have a first period math class, you will log into your Google Meet at 9 o'clock a.m. on Monday. It's important that you look at your schedule and figure out when you have what courses and then block this out for yourself so you know when you're live and when you need to be working remotely on the work for that class. Monday and Tuesday are math, science, world language, and PE. Wednesday and Thursday are English, social studies, and fine arts, again, for just the live portion. Friday is a flex day. Your teachers will be giving you a week at a glance. It should show up in your stream on each Google Classroom. So you'll know on Friday if you need to log in for an assessment or if it's just going to be office hours. Your teacher will communicate to you what Friday is going to look like.
So Ms. Cole, I have a question. I feel a little confused about this schedule. Can I ask you, like, okay, if I have science during 7th period, when would I log into that course?
So if you have science 7th period, the only time you're going to log in live to that class is at 12:30 on Tuesday. That is your one time during the week that you have live instruction with that teacher. Again, Friday is a flex day. He or she may ask you to come back at that time, but Tuesday at 12:30, you have to log into the Google Meet for science.
What if I have social studies 5th period?
So if you have social studies 5th period, you are going to log in at 9 o'clock a.m. on Thursday. Again, that's the time period during the week that you have time face-to-face with your teacher.
What if I had English during 3rd period?
If you have English during 3rd period, you're going to log into that Google Meet on Wednesday at 12:30 p.m.
Okay, I think I understand that a little better now. So I'm only going to see each of my teachers one time during the week, one time Monday through Thursday that week, and then Friday also.
Yes, and Friday, again, your teacher should communicate to you whether it's going to be open office hours, whether they have an activity for you to do, or if it's going to be an assessment.
Well, what about, there's a lot of free time there. What am I supposed to do during all that time?
Well, on your Google Classrooms for all of your periods, whether you have 4 periods, 8 periods, 6 periods, your teacher is setting up a week at a glance, which has work you do on your own and work you're going to be doing during the live class. So you have to make sure you get all of those assignments done. So if you only log in once on Wednesday for live instruction, structure the rest of your day so that you can work on the work for those other periods.
Cool, I appreciate that clarification. That helps me a lot. All right, online expectations. As you all are online, and I really should be saying remote, so I apologize for that. Remote expectations. Be familiar with your schedule. As you saw in the last slide, schedule can be a little bit confusing. So we'll share that map for you. Make sure that you're just aware of your classes and when they should be. And if you have any questions, feel free to bring them to us when you come for your in-person orientation on Monday or Tuesday. So just know your schedule really well. If you have any questions, feel free to email one of your teachers or contact us. Assignments. Your assignments are going to be due at certain times based on what your teacher assigns. So make sure that you're following along in your Google Classroom. You're clear on your syllabus for each class, and you can kind of like plan a schedule for yourself when you're working remotely so that you're prepared for when you come back in person. All assignments and assessments that are assigned during remote instruction are definitely going to count towards your grade. So don't just blow them off like they're not going to count for anything, because they will. And if you aren't completing them on time, when we do come back in person, you're going to be behind, and that's going to make your success this year a lot harder to reach. So make sure that you're keeping up, that you're clear on what the expectations are with each of your teachers, when assignments and assessments are going to happen or when they're due, so that you're ready and prepared no matter what the future holds for us this year. Whenever you have a live virtual instruction, you are expected to attend. Teachers are going to be taking attendance, so make sure that you're there and present for those. If there's some major technology issue or a glitch, the best way to address that is to communicate with your teacher and be active or proactive in that as much as possible, so that we don't run into an attendance situation later. When you are participating in virtual, in like meets and things like that, the Cheyenne Mountain High School School Code of Conduct for dress code applies. Make sure that you're wearing appropriate clothing. All of the appropriate clothing. There also shouldn't be any inappropriate clothing that would, like if you would get dress coded at school for it, you could be dress coded online for it, or rather remotely for it. So make sure that you are dressing appropriately. Don't wear pajamas to virtual instruction. Show up, be ready, and dress for success. If you need a reminder, refer to the Student Code of Conduct, and you're going to get more instruction on that shortly. And then lastly, we always want to make sure that we put this out there, that any sort of harassment, whether it be online or in person, is absolutely unacceptable. People have enough to worry about right now. The world is a crazy place in 2020, and we need your help to be kind to each other and help each other out. Everyone needs a little bit of extra grace and a little bit of extra help. Your teachers do, your fellow peers do. So make sure that you're being kind and you're being helpful. And if there are instances of harassment, we are going to take those very seriously, and they will not be tolerated. As we are in a different mode of learning than most of you are used to, we want to reinforce the expectation for academic and personal integrity also. And I would go so far as to say that if you are not, or the priority for you should be to learn what you need to learn. So when you cheat or you attempt to gain credit without doing the work, really the person who you're cheating is yourself, and you're not getting what you could get out of it. So I challenge each of you to go for what can you get out of it? What can you learn for it? Because that's the goal, and that's what the benefit of education is, what you get out of it. And I promise you that if you're cheating or you're passing off other work as your own, at the end of the day, you're the one that is missing out on what you could be getting. Some of the different instances of academic integrity or mishaps that we frequently see include these. Students failing to acknowledge any source utilized. So even if you used any source that you use, you need to acknowledge it by a citation, whether that you're copying a direct quote or you're using an idea that somebody else published, you still have to use that as a citation. And if you aren't citing those sources, whether they're directly quoted or they're paraphrased or it's just an idea, you can be held accountable for plagiarism. So that would be transcribing someone else's work word for word without a citation. Sharing your work with someone else. So if you're a student, someone else is in your class, you're doing the same assignment, and you share your work with them, the person sharing their work is just as guilty of plagiarism as the person who is accepting the work. So everyone needs to keep their own work, do their own work, because the work is the struggle, and the struggle is where the learning happens. Make sure that you're not reusing your own work. If you did an assignment that was sort of similar to an assignment last year, resubmitting that same assignment to try to gain additional credit for it is considered plagiarism. And so don't be doing that. Come up with new things, be creative, try to take a new take on something. But if you feel like what you did before was fit the bill, maybe you just have a conversation with your teacher. I'd rather you go and ask for permission ahead of time than for forgiveness later. And we talked about paraphrasing. Other things that we see, especially in the classroom, are, and they would be considered plagiarism or violations of academic integrity, include these. If you ever have a cell phone out while any exams are out, so if there's one kid in the class who's still working on their test and you pull your cell phone out, the teacher will confiscate it, and you could be facing a 0 on that assignment. Talking to a neighbor. If you're in a classroom and you're whispering to someone, even if you're asking for a pencil and the teacher's on the other side of the room and they can't really hear what you're saying, you've put them in a position where they're going to assume that you're cheating, whether you're cheating or not, and they may or not have a way to verify that. Then that is something that you could be facing a 0 on your assignment for, because you could be gaining answers or sharing answers, and those things put you in a position to take a 0 on an assignment. If you look like you're looking at another person's exam, or if you share your exam answers with someone else in any class, whenever you're taking an assessment or an exam, don't put yourself in a position where a teacher might assume that you're cheating. So keep your eyes on your work. Don't talk to anybody. If you need something, raise your hand. Your teacher's there to help you. Any instance of plagiarism, the teacher's going to report it to the deans. That's Ms. Cole and myself. And they're also going to give your folks a call. Depending on if this is the first time or a significant other time, you may face a 0 or potentially even be kicked out of the class with a drop fail. So make sure that you are on the up and up whenever you're working on assignments, whether that's a large paper or that's an assessment in class, a test, whatever. Make sure that you know the guidelines and expectations from that teacher, and don't put yourself in a position where whether you are cheating or you're not, that you're putting a teacher in the position to assume that you are.
So as we
Sorry, Ms. Cole.
As we talk through all of these different expectations for remote learning, we know that this is a different time, sometimes really challenging for people. And we want you to know that Safe to Tell is still the best option while we're in remote and don't have you in the building, for you to talk to somebody. If there's harassment going on, if you're worried about somebody, if you need help yourself, if you saw something you want to report, Safe to Tell is the best way to get that information to the school. We do look into all of those instances and get the appropriate people involved.
Safe to Tell. We've all heard of it, but have you ever really considered using it? When we are faced with a situation where we should call Safe to Tell, most of us won't because we don't want to be labeled as a snitch. From a young age, children learn a code of silence. We were taught that it is not cool to tell on our friends. But when you see someone hurting someone else or doing something that you know is morally wrong, it is up to you to help the victim. If you don't, who will? That's what makes Safe to Tell so great. It's completely anonymous. That means no one asks for your name, there's no caller ID, and calls are not recorded. But why should you call Safe to Tell? Safe to Tell provides young people a way to report any threatening behaviors or activities that may endanger themselves or someone they know in a way that keeps them safe and anonymous. It can be used to report anything from guns, knives, explosives, gangs, bullying and cyberbullying, meanness, teasing, threats, harassment, fighting, planned fights, assaults, domestic violence, child abuse, sexual misconduct, sexual assaults, suicide threats, drugs, alcohol, stealing, vandalism, fire starting, animal cruelty, ditching, dating violence, stalking, school threats, and even cheating. Research shows that 81% of violent incidents in schools, someone other than the attacker knew it was going to happen but failed to report it. So remember, if you see something, say something. What happens when you call Safe to Tell? When you call or submit a report online, a trained dispatcher will call the proper authorities and help will be provided based on the severity of the situation. We need your help to improve your school and community. By calling, you can help stop a friend from committing suicide, get another student off drugs, or stop a bully from making other people miserable. When you see something going on, whether it's bullying or depression, you have a right to help them by telling someone. Telling isn't snitching. Telling saves lives. By calling the number on the back of your student ID or by submitting a report online at safetotell.org, you are helping to protect people you know from themselves or others. Make a call, make a difference, Safe to Tell.
Okay, so just for clarification, when students submit Safe to Tell reports, either through the app or the phone call or the website, a dispatcher takes that information and then they pass it along to the school administration. All reports will be investigated. But I do want to add a caveat to that, is that if you are using Safe to Tell to make a report, we need enough detailed information that we can follow up on it. Sometimes there isn't enough information to follow up on reports. So I could see how sometimes students feel like nothing was done. So make sure that you are giving the dispatcher enough information that something can be done about the report that you're giving. If we have enough information, Ms. Cole and I are committed to investigating all reports and following up with those with the appropriate actions, whether that be calling parents or bringing a student in who might be harassing, to just investigating a potential threat to school safety. So make sure that you're giving enough information that we can investigate those reports. Expectations for orientation. You all should be or should have received an email from either myself, Mr. Jurekovic at sjurekovic@cmsd12.org, or from Ms. Cole at ecole@cmsd12.org with your specific scheduled orientation time. It's very important that you show up at your time and be ready and waiting outside of the main gym doors. All teachers and staff are going to be there to guide you through the orientation. It's going to start with pictures for your student IDs. It's also going to be your school picture. So if you or your parents want school pictures, dress up nice and make sure that that your picture looks good for your folks. Just a note about pictures: make sure that you're not wearing sunglasses or hats or excessive makeup or things like that, because those pictures are going to get pulled and you'll have to do a retake. So make sure that your picture isn't distorting your face where it's unrecognizable. Make sure that you bring a mask to orientation. Masks are mandatory and must be worn at all times unless you are actively getting your picture taken. During this orientation, anytime there are cones or floor markings, or if you're waiting around, make sure that you are exercising appropriate social distances and keeping each other safe. After you get your picture taken, you're going to be directed up to the cafeteria where you'll have the opportunity to ask Ms. Cole and myself questions about things that you didn't understand in this orientation video, or things that you need some clarification for in the student handbook. And then lastly, you'll be directed to either the Kiva or the library to pick up any materials or supplies that you need for your classes, including potentially a computer, books, and art supplies, etc. So make sure that you bring a backpack or a book bag so that you can leave with, so you have something to carry all the things that you're going to be picking up. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact Ms. Cole or myself. Ms. Cole, do you have anything else?
No, we can't wait to see you guys again, and we hope that this is helpful. Please reach out to us with any questions that you may have.
All right, we can't wait to see you guys on Monday or Tuesday. Have a great weekend.